So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers around the globe, and welcome to another series of Intimate Conversations with your host, Mandy Horton. And if you feel like subscribing push the button below. That'd be great. Thank you so much. And appreciate all your input. There's some beautiful comments that come back after some of our chats. And yeah, I really appreciate all that. So thank you for all the love and support. And today's guest, we've got Philippa Ross. Welcome, Philippa.
Thank you for having me, inviting me, Mandy.
Oh, so welcome. And we've got some interesting chat, I'm really sure it is, because you've just finished a little tiny home project as well, which we can have a little chat around as well. So anyway, first of all, I'll introduce you with reading your little bio that you sent me. So thank you for that. And Philippa has a desire to eliminate waste of natural, human, and environmental resources, fuels my work as a mentor, writer, and speaker. I've integrated personal experiences, professional qualifications, and personal growth and a passion for the environment and quantum physics into roles I define as a human ecologist and enthusiologist. My ability to empower people to find their true north and explore the connection between their internal and external worlds has undoubtedly been influenced by my great grandfather, Sir James Clark Ross, who used the Earth's magnetic field to navigate his way around both polar regions, discovering the North Magnetic Pole and the Ross Sea, Antarctica. Wow, wow, wow.
Yes,
What a legend of an ancestor you have.
yes. And I didn't really appreciate it till much later in life either.
Yeah, I understand that. Totally.
I'm
Mm.
actually going down to Antarctica in January next year. I've been invited as a guest on a cruise ship. And I went 9 years ago as well. And that was the very year because I was involved in a campaign to get marine protection for the Ross Sea. And that was 2016 was the year that we actually got it. So I got back in the March and we got it in the October. So it was 2016 was a mega year. Yes. So hopefully 2026 will be too. Yeah.
Wow. That's so awesome. What a legacy he's left in respect to, adding because my great grandfather,
Yeah.
he was the nurseryman that planted out Pukekura Park in Taranaki.
Oh,
And it's beautiful. And he shipped, he was the man that was responsible for bringing the wide variety of apple into New Zealand. And he shipped apple tree out into the world through little steamships and yeah, little cute as, but when you connect into some of that history through our ancestry, it just, I don't know, strengthens something in us, doesn't it?
and I think it's that very something that we've lost is that spiritual connection and that sense of adventure because James was the last sailing ship down to Antarctica. And they went through many storms. And you just think both the ships were actually collided. And so everybody on board had to repair the ship while they were in the midst of a storm. And if you think, even so far as the clothing is concerned, it wouldn't have been this stuff that the water repels off nowadays. It would have been heavy.
No.
And basically, they were just sailing into the unknown. And now we have to know everything, and we've got GPS. I mean, there's many things that have come off the back of it that's been really good. That using the Earth's magnetic field as well has helped since that time, has helped other sailors establish where they are. But we've become too reliant on external resources, gadgets and things, as opposed to using our instinct. And he was a great astrologer, scientist, very revered, but not much talked about him because he didn't have misadventures. He was a very revered seaman and scientist as well. So, yeah, absolutely extraordinary. And as I say, I didn't really appreciate it until I came to New Zealand 21 years ago, and I discovered there was a film about the Ross Sea. This was in 2012, and I got a letter from Greenpeace saying that they were trying for this marine protection. So I asked my father and my uncle, who are back in England, and they knew nothing about it. And that's so obviously, Spirit was guiding me to be here. So I then contacted them. I went to the premiere and got actively involved in helping the marine protection. I mean, I played a microscopic part, but that name dropping really does help, and it puts the heart into a campaign, because a lot of these campaigns for any kind of conservation is very science-based. So I was asked to go and speak at Camla in Tasmania in 2012, really speaking for the family to these 200
Yes.
delegates who are making this. And it was really about, put your heart here. And it was very poignant because it happened to be my dad's birthday as well. So, it was all the synchronicities of it, but it didn't happen that year. It happened 4 years later, but it was all part of that momentum. And as you say, I revered him to a certain extent, but I didn't understand the depth of it. And I think that comes with maturity. You have other things are more important to you, but to me, it's that spiritual connection. It is, I just find it ironic, the fact that he found the magnetic north and I help people find their true north. And I've got a background in psychology, which I found, again, restricted people because it puts people in boxes. It helps you understand the psyche, but I found people were saying to me, well, I've only got an undergraduate, you need to go on and get a postgraduate. And it's like, I'd already done 6 years of Open University in England, and I thought, my brain cells can't cope with anymore.
I get that.
It was really for me about building word of mouth, and actually it gave me the time to connect to quantum science, because I started then to learn about Reiki, and it kind of just slowly integrated into my work. And I had a client, I did some agency work for SIFs, and I had a client who was very spiritual, and it was her approach and her connection that helped me really expand my work. So it's really, I've created a process that helps people understand themselves, but it's individualized. So it's something they fill in for themselves. And so it's not a cookie cutter thing, because there's nothing, we're all so very unique, and that's what I love.
Yeah, absolutely. And my daughter and I, we were out the other day, and and I all my life I've been too concerned about what everyone else thought. And I know that's been basically humanity. We've all been there in some shape or form in it, just to whatever degree. And particularly around my body, body image. And you just the other day we were sitting, and it's got to a point where, I honestly have freed from that for a few years now. But that for me is the ultimate freedom. Once we realize that actually it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, sees, or feels about us, it's only about us being okay with us and finding that space within ourselves to be able to accept self truly, and looking out amongst everyone that we were witnessing, walking around where we were, there were so many, they were all different. Every single person there was different. They all wore different style of clothing. They all had different style of hair. Everything was different. And it's like there might be similarities, yes, but actually we are very different, and we are unique in our own way. And coming back into our own authenticity is really important right now, isn't it? And finding that, what I'm finding, Philippa, and you probably will be as well, is finding that those who are connected in their own way to self within and have that conscious awareness are finding that there's a new direction being shown up now, eh? Like new purposes coming in, new It's like soul now really claiming the trip and taking us on this amazing journey that we're on. But are you noticing that with everyone? They've sort of dropped away or dropping away from where they were rolling, and now it's like there's a turn.
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened outside, and going back to your point about we look, it's a bit. I liken it to an iceberg. I mean, okay, they're all different shapes on the outside, but
Yeah,
we a judgment about people on their exterior, but under the water, there's two-thirds of the iceberg, and that's what nourishes us. And we don't until we make a judgment on someone from the outside, and we need to take the time to get to know them from the inside. And that's how we create community, because we're living in a world where it's very divisive.
exactly.
I mean, when it comes to don't get me on my soapbox about education, but going to your point about people now, they just know they're out of whack, and there aren't the words out there to describe it. And I find it really hard in when you're marketing yourself, promoting yourself, because everybody uses the same kind of language. It is that disconnection feeling, I call it the D syndrome. It's really dispirited, depressed, disheartened, and diseased. And each one of those relates to the parts of the body, the soul, heart, mind, and body. And it's so important. Self-love is another thing that's bantered around a lot. But what does it really mean? And it goes to the point that you were talking about, the body identity and things, is that we, like we do with people, we reject people because they don't fit in the box, but we reject the parts of ourselves
Yeah.
that haven't fitted in. And for me,
Mm.
I liken it to the art of kintsugi, where you pull all those pieces together and then you put them together and paint them in gold, because you're so much more beautiful than all these, the sum of the parts is greater than, the sum of the whole is greater than the parts kind of thing. And it's owning those, because you wouldn't be, I mean, we've all got things that we're not proud of and all the rest of it, but
Mm.
just juicy parts of the story that make us ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. Are you talking about the Chinese, I think it is, where
Japanese, yeah,
they come back, the pot might be broken and they glue it all back and paint the gold in. Yeah,
yeah,
that's such a gorgeous thing, isn't it? So
yes, yes.
beautiful. Yeah.
And
Yep.
it just goes to show that we are like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And
Yeah.
owning it and loving all those parts, because they have contributed to the way that we think, the feel about ourselves. And so going through your own journey of the disowning parts of the body because it didn't match. I mean, mine's the other end of the extreme. I've never had a weight issue, but I've always been a scrawny rat. And as a teenager, I was like a plank. So the boys weren't interested because I didn't have all the necessary lumps and bumps that other girls had. That
I so get it. I had a friend too at school who was very, very thin girl, and we'd all be like, "Oh, stop moaning about your body. God, I love to have a body like that." Rah, rah, rah.
yeah,
But actually, she was not comfortable in hers because she was too thin, she felt, and found it hard to put weight on. And it was like, wow, we're all, even then, I remember thinking, gosh, I don't know if anyone's really happy with
no,
themselves, like,
no.
to be honest. And nobody was around me.
Mm.
Nobody. And
But
it's
ultimately, it's just a vessel.
it
It's,
is.
when you get down to it, it is just a vessel that from which you have to get to know yourself to express who you are beyond the exterior. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, the ultimate freedom for me in freeing different bits and pieces, but the ultimate was when I did not give a hoot about what anyone thought, felt,
Mm.
or nothing. I was doing this for me, and anyone has objects to that's their problem, whatever it might be. But yeah, it's the greatest freedom, I believe, and it's a well, I see humanity as we all are at the moment, sort of looking in and seeing just so much pain, So much pain. There's so many lost people out there that really don't know where to go, what to do. They see a world that hasn't showing them really a future. Where if we're in that space where we're looking at all the world stuff, we're still connected into the old world issues. Um, and I feel like just being like a big fishing net and like collecting them all up and then pulling them off over here somewhere so they can dry off and get a sense of who they really are and find a new direction and a new way of looking at the world. Because, man, it's sad. And then I switch and I look at what else is happening out there, and there's so much magnificence and beauty and, oh my God, kindness and compassion and I just want to again get the big fishing net, drag these ones out and go, look at this though. This is what is, you've got a choice. There comes to a point where we've worked through stuff within our body and our mental, emotional, spiritual, all the thing. And it's like, then it becomes a choice. Do I really truly wish to feel like that today or in this moment? Or do I choose to change it? And that, again, for me, when I really got to see that it was actually a choice, but it is when it is, but it isn't until you get to the point where it is a choice, if you get me. Because the emotional program is so strong that it just
Yeah.
absolutely creates reaction and you don't really have a choice. It just is. It's already happened. And then you get to a point where you actually can stop, pause, and decide. And for me, I was tired of my body feeling the same way. My
Mm.
body feeling the same way all the time, just tense and angry and upset and annoyed and all the thing. It was horrible. So yeah,
It goes back to my point about my ancestor, because we have been programmed and steered to look in one direction, and we're steered to look at the future as something to aspire to look out to. So, but back in the day before all this, where there was so much information dumped on us as to what you're not doing and what you're aspiring to and feeling less,
yes,
they were uh, living in the spirit of adventure and taking each day as it came, basically. And again, you imagine being on the high seas and no idea what's coming, but they had to read the energy around them as to anticipate storms and so on and so forth. And then
yes, for
you look
sure.
at the education system. I've worked with a young boy with Asperger's right throughout primary school, and I stick my neck out because one of the things that's happening at the moment, there's so many labels for things. And really, for me, we are electromagnetic. Everything in the world is energy and we attract stuff. And so the only way we make sense of the world is through our senses. There's so much interference out there now that we are being desensitized and we're just responding to stuff. And so the criteria, people hang on to these labels, but they're basically overstimulated.
Yes,
I was listening to a talk, because I go to Toastmasters every week, and one of the ladies was talking about, it's called CAPS, and it's about auditory processing. They call it a disorder. Again, why do we call it a disorder or a disability?
yeah,
Because it's different from other people. But we all process things differently. And this group of people are, they need more time to process things auditorily, if that's a word. And so we have to learn to not be judgmental because they're not fitting in the box straight away and doing
yes.
things as programmed. Just to step back and not be, we're so judgmental. It's that
Yep.
empathy and compassion for self, for others, and we're so wanting to fit in, and if we're not like everybody else, we feel a reject. And that's what's happened. I mean, are you familiar with the telepathy tapes?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's got to there was something I was just going to bring in then and it's just flowing off. Um
I get those moments.
I know it's like wow, that went fast. But what I was going to say, and part of that too, was that when we consider self coming into experience human form, and that this is what we are magnificent creator beings, and that everything that we have created is us creating, co-creating together, everything in this world, you know? So therefore change what we're looking at and how we're thinking about and what we're wishing to receive. Um, but in that, if we consider, and I've always said this, if we stop judging, so if we did something, if something happened, there was an experience that happened, and we didn't come into the mind over it and judge it on what we think it is and what we felt it might have been, we would be purely experiencing.
Mhm.
And that's what we came in to do. We came in here to experience. And so therefore, then you start becoming more conscious of what you're creating and in respect to that we are, you know, we then start choosing our experiencing. And for me, again, just, years and years I've been in this and doing what we do, but it's like over time, it took me time to readjust my program of my mental program, particularly, because that's the thing that keeps driving you into the old
Mm,
thing.
mm,
But one of the things that came through at the beginning of last year for me was it was really strong. The year before it was sound frequency was going to become heightened. It was going to be important for more sound healers, more sound toning, all the thing. Then the next year, the beginning of the year, I got changed the language. And the old wording has just got so many old codes in it. We needed to recode with new language. And one of them, I'm going goosebumps saying it, one of the things was stop labeling. Stop, even if we have to, because even, okay, I'm going into a rant here, but not a rant, but when you come back, you look at, because it involves so much, but we look at who we think we are, right? And at the moment, we've gone through so much of a like identity changes, the shifting of who we think we are, who we thought we were, what we thought we were here doing, blah, blah, blah. There was so much. And so, in that identity shifting for me, it was like, I don't have any label. I don't know what to call myself anymore. What I thought I was before, yes, is still relevant, but it's not what I want to label myself as and advertise and market. And I've never been into doing the marketing like a business plan should do, you know. It's never been my thing. I can't do it. And I've looked at it over life and thought, well, that's been your downfall, because I'm not wealthy. I'm not, making millions out of all of this. Never have. It's always been me more gifting financially into anything and everything rather than gaining on the wheel with it. So it's changing now, definitely. But over
mm.
time, just presenting things and not having the numbers and to cover costs. And, it's just been me giving. Which is what we do. But until we don't. But that part there, when I looked at what do I call myself now, and spirit was saying to me, or my spirit was saying to me, don't land anywhere. Don't land anywhere. Don't call this in and say this is what it is, because it stops that there. And we're reaching higher now. And it's stay wide open. Don't label it. Don't stop there and go, yeah, that's me. That's the new me. I'm gonna go with this. It's like just allow more of it to drop in, more of it to show you where you're up to, who you really are now, and all the change, because it's still moving. We're not landed yet. It's not at a completion by any means. So yeah, it's moving, but it's great. I'm excited about where we're up to.
Yeah, well, change, I mean, it's happens all the time. It's inevitable and we can't stop it. So, um,
Yeah.
to your point where um that it's embracing that, and also when we put something out that we want and we get back what we don't expect, it's the universe providing what we need as opposed to what we want. And again,
Mm,
speaks to where we then reject it because it's not, but rather than taking the lesson from it. So this is, goes back to my work where it's using and recognizing the gold in all our experiences, because they can help us expand as opposed to contract. And that mindset is the thing that contracts us. And
Yes.
you were talking about the language. So many people are programmed to complain or say what they don't like. And I'm going, please just say what you do want. Invite what is it that you want, because where your focus goes, where the energy goes, that's where it flows. And
Yeah.
it's going to expand as well. I mean, it sounds obvious. And I also, I get clients that say that they want to change. And I say, well, there are no shortcuts. There are no hacks. Forget everything that you've seen out there that says, overnight you've been wired for 60 plus years in this way. It takes a lot of conscious effort and reprogramming to think differently, because you have to be aware of the thought that's coming in to capture it and recognize you've got that choice to be able to shift, to move on. And the more often and the more aware you are of stuff, the easier it becomes. And then you get into the flow of things. But there's too much shortcut, looking to the future, rejecting everything, the judgments, and it's like, holy crap. And it is lovely when you get to that stage where you couldn't give a flying fart about what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
You are where you are. But again, that's a connection to oneself, that inner knowing, and going to your point about labeling, your calling you. That's why I call myself an enthusiologist, because I hate the word counselor. I can do that. I don't focus on what the problem is, because it takes you down the rabbit, further down.
Yes.
It's helping create, understand that, so you can move on. The shit will come to the surface, because it does. So I can help you manage it, but it's not about, that's not where the focus is. And, I'm not saying I say everybody's got trauma, because we've all been programmed to work in a certain way. And it's, if you want the change, and that's one of the things on my podcast, my last question is, if I was your fairy godmother, what change would you want in the world? And it's be that change. Just like Jane Goodall said, be that change. Every little thing you do, every word you speak creates magic for that change to actually happen, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it does take a bit to get the mind right. I've been training it for years. And it's just being absolutely conscious with what it is that you're in every single moment, every thought. And now is it used to be quite powerful to use affirmation, and then that was just like, well, that's not everything that we need to do. There's more to that. And definitely the mind training, for sure. It's a big trap, and it takes people onto massive stories, which I pull them back in and go, is that actually happening right now? And take a minute and they go, no. And I said, well, why are you focusing there then? It's like, that's a story that you're going to create into being if you continue with it. And particularly when there's a lot of force behind them. And it's just, we don't need to create. And I remember thinking so much through this life, going through, abusive relationships and all the stuff, the waves of it that used to be my life. And I would often think, because the story is we came in to learn stuff. We learn about all of these, we got to go through some hardship to learn it. And I just knew, I already knew this. Why am I repeating it? Like, why do I need to, there's nothing more I need to learn about this. I'm over it. And I kept saying that all this life. I'm just over this. This is not what I want to do. Yet it's what kept showing up. And coming out of the big long term, and now I feel like part one's done and I'm in part two, and we're at a beginning. We're in a beginning now. And that part for me feels like, because I kept saying, I don't want to repeat this anymore. I'm just done with it. And so it was, well, what actually are you repeating that you're not happy with anymore? And it was basically everything. I don't want to vacuum a house again. I don't want, I will, but I don't want to. It's not what I'm choosing to do now. I don't care to do all that anymore. It's like been there, done it. We've run all these cycles of, abuse, and what do we need to learn now about suffering and pain? Like, I don't believe anyone on the planet needs to learn any more about that. We all know it to its depth.
But
So
we are
why
in
are we not choosing something different? Why the
But we
massive?
are, the part of the physical experience is to see the polarity. And so again, like
Yes.
faith and fear. So fear is the big driver, and but faith is at the other end of the spectrum. And we, in order to recognize what we do want, a lot of people find it easier to recognize, as you were saying, because a lot of your words were, I don't want this, I don't want this, but actually, what do you want? So that's what you've got
Yeah.
to identify. So it brings that up for you so you can see what it is that you do want.
Hmm.
And the idea is to come together in the middle and create that equilibrium for ourselves and recognize whatever is important to us as an individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the important. And the senses, the other big thing is, you were talking about language being one thing and sound being one thing. The thing with sound is the vibration. And of course, if we are all energetic beings, and so we vibrate at a certain level. And I think of it like a song sheet. We're singing our own
Yeah.
song, doing what makes the heart sing, but our senses are like the antenna. They give us clues. So we have to, rather than use the head, it's really, a lot of people go to the heart. So yes, it's important to recognize what you want, but also to tune into the body. How is my body responding to my thoughts, to my environment? Because that will give you the clues. And if it's uncomfortable, you've got to make a shift. And
Yeah.
you can become too comfortable. And that's the point. We get too comfortable, and we work 95% of the time autonomously without thinking. But it is that conscious awareness to wake us up to the way that we're thinking, and is this serving me, or are
Mm.
we carrying everybody else's energy, and we need to let go of that energy because it's weighing us down. It's a bit like tuning in an instrument that hasn't been tended to for years. You need to tune it up. So that's what we need to do for ourselves, is to tune ourselves up and recognize, oh, that's mum's, that's dad's, that's 3 generations ago kind of stuff that we're carrying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Just need to plug my phone in to keep the hotspot. And it is definitely, it's learning about the definitely the polarities, and where it came to for me was that I felt like I didn't need to know that anymore. I didn't need to understand that anymore. And now I was still running stuff in that because it was still part of what I was unconsciously, if conscious unconsciously doing. And then it was like, right, now I need to actually pay more attention to that part of me, that bit that's still allowing and going into and magnetizing more of the same that you have done, and really start focusing more on what it is that I really did want and desire in here. And consider more the lifestyle too of what I really wanted to live. So it does change, but it's like any top athlete. They train a lot. And that's the thing that I feel a lot of people don't really get with this being spiritual, if that's what we want to call it, is that it's a training ourselves into that more and more each day, really focusing. But yeah, it's a great thing. I love it. Mm.
Again, there is no shortcut. An athlete or anybody who is more proficient at what they're doing is recognizing the hours that they put in to reach that. And from the outside world, we see them at their highest. The book's written, they've won this race. That we don't get to see the hours that they have endured and the things that they've had to grapple in order to get
That's
there.
right.
And I think
Yeah.
that's how we can be more compassionate with ourselves and think, you don't go from here to there in a straight line. There's lots of wiggly bits, and you pick up
Mm.
what's important to you along the way. Absolutely. Mm.
Yeah. And it's really that accepting or surrendering to what is actually happening right now. Like if it is a caca time, a shit bit, then what we do is we resist it so much because we just don't enjoy those parts. But learning to, and I used to really, this used to grate on me so much when people say, "I just love it." And I'm like, what? How do you love it when it feels so horrible? But you get to understand the gold nuggets that you learn and that you come through and you come out with when you move through something that's really sort of either traumatic or upsetting or whatever the thing might be. And I see how many people in the world today want the world to just stop and all the ugly to go. But when I remind them of how much they've gone through in their life, how much they went through and endured that was not comfortable and happy and fun, um, and what they learned from that, this is what everyone else that's still playing out on all that level needs and requires. It's not going to just go away. And everyone's hoping there's a magic wand or a big event that might just turn it all around. And there could be maybe one day. But for me, it's about really getting individually, everyone in their own way, working through their stuff and moving themselves consciously by choice. Mm,
It's taking responsibility as well, because we have been programmed to think somebody else will
sure.
solve the problem, and being accountable for our own thoughts and feelings and how we contribute to the bigger picture is paramount, because that's how we create change over time. It doesn't happen overnight, basically. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's that recognition of it, that and being comfortable with the discomfort, allowing it to move through you. You don't have to love it, because the point is your body is picking up these sensations and informing you of something, and to wake you up as to
Yes.
what it is. And just like the clouds, the day, the night, life, it moves constantly, maybe not as fast as we'd like it to, but there's boggle you can do about it. It's just moving with it, being grateful for the moments, for
Mm,
the experiences, because they have expanded the way that you think about things and allowed you to get a lot stronger and become more resilient, because you haven't resisted it, basically. Just think of a tree. Nature's got so many lessons to
yeah.
teach us. The roots are down, the more connected you are
Mm,
to yourself, the more you can actually go with life. You don't have to follow it all the time, but being strong with your own roots and understanding that helps you embrace everything. And there's room for everybody. Everybody has value. And the word
mm,
community is common, and unity. We are at this time now recognizing that we are part of something so much bigger. We're just a very microscopic part in the big picture, and it's about unifying ourselves with all our experiences and contributing to the much bigger picture as well.
absolutely. Sorry, animals.
I wondered what you were looking at there.
I know she's a sprayer and I don't want her in here. She's my daughter's cat. Sorry. I just had to get her out the gate. She's coming in the cat door. The So we'll edit this obviously. One of the things, and you bringing up trees, I was just going to mention too before you brought that up, so it was really interesting. My granddaughter yesterday, we were in the park and it just has a swing. We just go to a quieter place by the water here, and it just has a swing and picnic table and things. And we were there, and she was on the swing, and then she runs over and she jumps up into one of the big trees, a massive big putakawas, and she'd climbed right up the tree. She was yahooing and look at me, ganger, and we're waving and be careful and all the thing. And then we get to, she can't start, we were going to leave, and she comes down the tree, and she's not quite off the tree, but she got to the point where it was now I have to have a bit of a leap to get off. Um, and and she had yelled out for some help, but she then, when we got there, she didn't want it. She'd worked out, obviously. No, I know what I can do. And three times or more, I offered, just take my hand, Macy, I'll help you down. No, Ganger, no. And she absolutely had to do it herself.
Mhm.
There was, and she'd already worked, like I was saying, she'd worked out the route she needed to take to get down the problem solving thing. She's
Mhm.
very strong in doing things herself, and it's a great thing. She used to hurt herself, and she would never let us help her. Now she at least allows a cuddle or a hug to console, but otherwise she's been that kid all the time. And I remember thinking about that at one point and thinking, man, I've got, like, pay attention to her not receiving help, not receiving assistance, not liking to ask for it, and make sure that that doesn't come to that. But
Mhm.
don't squish the independence and the problem solving, because a lot of the solution stuff, people don't have that today. They're not thinking for themselves. And I was just stoked with her yesterday, showing me that she's really got that happening, and I love that. I really love it. It's a great survival thing, in this world today. We need it.
And that showed the polarity of things, how important it really is. I mean, I know for my own generation, it was like being stalwart and, doing it all yourself and all the rest of it. And it's been a journey to actually ask for help, to think that you're not less than, and
Yes.
recognizing it's a gift you're allowing somebody else to do, to step in, someone with different strengths to yourself. So
Mm,
it's that asking for it, but also taking that responsibility, because within the schools and things, again, it's just a society that somebody else will do it. I don't need to try. What if I fail? Or failure is a huge story of mine, but what if I fail? I'm not less than. How am I going to recover from it? And it's like all those massive lessons. And you beautifully demonstrated it from a very simple thing of climbing a tree as a child, and all those skills. And as a parent, or grandparent, we have a responsibility to allow them to find themselves, which you were doing. You're offering it, but also not being insistent that I have the answers, because that's one thing that adults are really good at. You don't know what you're talking about. You need to
yes.
do it. And
Yeah.
in the end, it's like we wrap the kids in cotton wool, so they're incapable of doing things for themselves, thinking for themselves, or tuning into their own intuition, like your granddaughter did. It's like, I can
Yeah.
work this out. And it's an inner knowing, like you were saying about, I don't need to know the depth of it anymore. You don't, because insight, you're really connected to your inner self that will give you the answers that you need. You don't need to know all the gazillion other ways of finding the answer. You want to find it for yourself. And that, I think, going back to my ancestor, is that spark of curiosity, the adventure
Yes.
is lost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I often say to, whenever I'm doing a live or whatever I might be talking about, is that one of the things that gave me so many answers and so much more was because I always went, oh yeah, okay. And then what? And what else? And what else? And what
Mm.
else? And so I went down into questions deeper and deeper and deeper around healing, around the body, how it works, whatever the energy field was showing. It was that. And I have always been curious and always interested to know more. And that today is another thing. It's like it's just fogged over. People are not thinking for themselves a lot. And it is a shame. I feel it's a shame. But one of the things I did notice in the tree climbing with my granddaughter yesterday and her doing that was I needed to have patience.
Mm.
Because if I just helped her, if she'd let me help her, we could have been out of there 10 minutes earlier and on in
Yeah.
the car and getting home. But it was her independence that she wanted to do it her way. And it was really interesting. I was like, oh, just in me, I'm thinking, come on, just take my hand and let me get you off. And then it was like, actually, just be patient. Just be patient. and allow her to do it her way, which is exactly what happened. And I was all good with that. But I did notice that I had to really, just let myself have that patience for that moment because we want everything right now. We're in such a rush all the time. And just to take some time with our children or grandchildren is really important. It really is. And our bodies. My goodness, to take time with your body today is just such an important part of this whole journey we're in right now. Really
Mm.
important. Mm,
And actually, I think that one of the things, when you're talking about parents, it's a privilege being a grandparent because you do have more patience because you're not on a parent agenda. But equally, so you have the foresight
mm,
as well to think like that. But I notice in my own children that they are thinking like that and giving the children more opportunities. And again, we've been instilled with packing kids' days so full, there's no room to do anything in between, let alone breathe. And they need that breathing space to do nothing, to be uncomfortable with doing nothing. I sat with my own grandchildren yesterday doing like Play-Doh, and it's probably about 2 hours, and we're just sitting around the table having a conversation while things were going on. And it was just, and I was looking at the clock, and my daughter had gone off, and I had to look, and she was saying, I need this by this time. And I just thought, I'm just going to forget about the clock. We kind of got there on time, but ultimately it was enjoying those juicy moments and the lovely little conversations. They're 5 and 7, and just being there. And I think for parents to take the pressures off themselves, not have so much on our plate and the expectations
yeah.
we put on ourselves, that will actually lessen the load and the stress. And it's hard because both parents are working nowadays and there's not enough hours in the day. But to your point about looking after yourself, you're not, that is really important to have that time. Sitting on the beds when they're having a story at night time is really good downtime for yourself as well. Really be in
Mhm.
that moment because they're so precious. It goes so quickly, eh?
Yeah. It so goes so fast. Honestly, it so does. It blows me away sometimes. But I think I look at my daughter, who is the mum of this 5-year-old, and she's just so patient with her. She does a lot of activity stuff with her, crafting and really baking, all the thing. I didn't have the patience for it when I was growing these two girls. It was like I was too busy and doing my things around the house, the gardens, and even though she'd join in with me in that way, but I see that she is way more patient than I was, which is a really beautiful thing to know.
But again, that goes back to one of the things I can remember when mine were little was being able to do the painting, and people don't like mess and the clearing up.
No,
So involve the kids in the clearing up. But it's yeah, it's that whole process and being uncomfortable in it. So it's, yeah, it's a really hard, but that's what life's about. It's the experience and learning to balance things for yourselves. And there's no right or wrong way, but people are so concerned with having it just right, just pristine, and not having any mess or needing to clear up anything. And it's just,
yeah,
living in the countryside as well, bringing the mud in and all that kind of thing. When the kids get dirty, I remember my niece said to me she loved playing in, coming to stay because she could play in puddles and things. And it's like, to me, it wasn't an issue getting the clothes clean. It was just some mud. But for other people, depending on your
yeah,
circumstances, your timetable, the time you've got to do this, yeah. And so there's no right or wrong. It's just make it easier on yourself at whatever stage you're at. I think that's important. Be aware of it.
yeah. Definitely. And one of the biggest things for me was not don't make a mess. I couldn't be bothered. It was like, oh
Yeah,
my God, it's too
yeah,
much to do already without you
yes,
coming in behind and making another mess. And I've just
yeah,
cleaned it all
exactly.
up. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, now, oh well. Um, so Philippa, you have you're in the beautiful tiny home, and it was entered into a competition, really. Yeah, well, talk about that with me. because it's definitely, I mean, as with everybody, I suppose, building their own or putting together in whatever way, whatever they're building, whether it's a big house or a little tiny home,
Yeah.
there's your character goes into it. And with yours, I could see that. It was really gorgeous. So tell me about that process and how that came about.
It was really, I mean, I've been renting for like 17 years, and I'm one of the fortunate ones. My mum left some money, and I just thought I have to do something with this before it disappears, basically. And so I've always, like for 10 years, I've
Yeah.
been following tiny homes and things. So I started off, the storyboard that I was creating, and I collected eclectic windows, so lead light windows and stained glass windows. I had lots of ideas. I've been to a couple of workshops. I'm never afraid of getting down in the pits of it and being a part of it. So I put this together, but I had 20 million ideas and they kept changing. So
Yeah.
I employed an architect to help me because he could help ground me to be feasible as what would work and why this was good. So it was good to have someone objective, because you can be so emotionally involved in something. So there's actually a lot of research, but ultimately from the workshops that I've done, as in all life, it's establishing what you want. How do you want this to work for you? What's important to you? Now, light
Mm.
is a really important thing for me. But too much light, any more than 20% in a tiny home anyway, it feels like a greenhouse. And the temperature here is just beautiful. It's well insulated. It's cool in summer and warm in winter, which is beautiful. And again, it's about that decluttering. So it's not just inside with the mind, because for me, our external environment impacts our internal. So we can have, I mean, over the years with the children going and things, I went from a 3-bedroomed house down to a 1-bedroom. How much crap have you got around you that you think there's an emotional attachment to? Let it go. And that can be really hard. It's a process, but just look around, at arm's length. What have you got within your vicinity that you really love? Everything I have here, I love, says something about me. And so I found local builders, and they were happy for me to be on site. So every freaking piece of wood you can see, I've oiled, primed, sanded, painted.
Oh, beautiful.
This time last year, exactly, was a year ago that the builders finished, and I had to spend 2 months on my own, sanding back, priming, and painting 2 coats of all the doors and windows, and then do all the interior walls and everything. So it took me 2 months to do that. Patience is never one of my greatest, but again, the whole learning of putting the house together, couldn't do something one day because of the weather or the supplies weren't there.
Mm.
Thinking outside the box, it was just amazing. And then I moved in December 17th, just before Christmas. So much help from so many people, and I love scouring things. I was always on Trade Me to buy something else and repurpose
Yeah.
things. I thought, I bought this old chest because I found a butler sink, and I've always loved those. Mum had one in her kitchen, and I thought, just buy an old chest and plonk it in the middle, not really thinking it through too much. So I discovered I wasn't an engineer in a former life, and actually bought this massive chest, and did manage it, but I had to get right underneath and cut all the bits out for all the pipes. And it was I loved the journey. For other people, again, like we're going back to don't want the mess and things, it's not their bag. You don't have to be involved. You can be actively involved as much or as little as you want to. But for me, it gave me that extra sense of pride. And then I invited Bryce Langston from Living Big in a Tiny Home to come and do a feature on it, and he did in March, and that was so cool. I think I've had 1.4 million views online now.
Wow.
And so many beautiful comments from people all over the world, and it was just so humbling. And then I entered it into the Tiny Home Awards in the creative design. Haven't got anywhere. The results are at the end of October, and it was a bit of a, but again, it's another lesson. Ultimately, whatever we do in life, and I had to say it to myself again and again, is the votes don't count. So I got all this good response on living big in a tiny home, but all this, I think I was fourth, yes, out of 30. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I did it for me, ultimately, to begin with. So that external judgment should not impact the way that I feel about my home, because I did it for me. And it's art, ultimately, and not everybody's going to like it. And like in life, we don't like everybody, so why should we expect them to like us?
Absolutely.
So, and now I've been here 9-10 months. Yeah, and I can't believe it. It's just so easy and pleasurable and very fulfilling on many levels. And it's just reiterated a lot of life lessons for me, one step at a time thing. And I just done the Camino in June last year with my brother as well. And again, that was 280k. And again, that was just one step at a time. But to take the time, we had to get from point A to B each day, but how long it took us and the way we did it didn't matter. And we made it our own, and that's what everybody does on the Camino. It's making it your own. And when we got to Santiago, stunning place, great sense of achievement. But so what now? So it was really reiterating the importance of really honoring that journey that you've had and all the scrummy little bits that came up in between. Yeah, fascinating. Yeah,
that's
not sure what's
unreal. Yeah. Yes. And so Camino's been I haven't had the best legs in this life, though. That's been the thing, but only because I've smashed them all the time. But they are appearing and they're getting better, and it's something that I often think I still feel that I could do that yet. So we'll see, but who knows? But one of the other things that really brought up for me was how, with this ascension descension that we're in, and how many people just really want to get, I'm in 5D, I want to get to 5D. I'm like 5D, this is that's the place to get to. And what I'm seeing is that there's not the enjoyment of the journey on the way, on how we're getting there, the changes that it's creating, and the beautiful things that are happening and unfolding and showing up. And as you would have been every step on your Camino, you would have been seeing more of the countryside, of the coastline, and just and it's that I just wish people, not wish, but that observing is that everyone's in a race. It's about getting to an end here somewhere, whatever that end might be, the finish line. It's like, no, it's not. We're not finishing anywhere. We're not. It's a
not
forever
just
thing.
enjoying it at the time, it's actually acknowledging for yourself what has gone on for you, taking those lessons. And one of the things I do with connecting the soul, heart, mind, and body together, I've got this phrase: connect, pause, engage, respond. So you're connecting to the spirit, but you pause. That's when the emotions come in, because they're in body. You've got to connect to them and sense what it is. Take a breath, see what's been, and then you engage into the mind to make sense of it. And then you can respond as opposed to reacting, because as you say, what happens is people go from point A to B, forgetting all the stuff that happens, and then they react because it's not how they want, and keep reacting and reacting and reacting, and not understanding the way they've reacted. Going back to the classroom, we make judgments on people's behavior without any understanding of where that person has come from 5 minutes ago, a week ago, whatever, what they've had to endure throughout life. So yeah, that
Yeah.
pausing to reflect on oneself and be empathetic to others is so important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember seeing a meme story thing on Facebook years and years ago, and it's always stuck with me because it was such a great teaching tool that I've put forward for people so often, is that there was a man on a bus with three or four children, and the kids were just, running up and down the bus, doing whatever, and the image or the energy that came from others was, what is that man up to? Why doesn't that father just get control of these children? And blah blah blah. He's sitting there. And the story behind it is that they've just come from the hospital. Their mother, his wife, has just passed away, and
Mm.
and that just was like, wow, we don't know. And I often go there when I'm in town, when I'm around people, and I see reactions in people. There was a woman in the supermarket the other day, and she was so aggressive, just throwing everything into her thing. And I'm like, whoa, stay away from that energy. Like, I actually didn't like it at all. It was like, wow, I'm getting away from her. She's going to attack somebody soon. You could see it, sense it. Um, but for me, there was this energy of empathy and compassion for her and respect to, you're having such a hard time. You're really having a hard time, and I'm just going to send you some love, lady. So my energy shifted for her as well and with her, but that reminder that we don't know what people are going through. We
Mm.
don't always know, and we can judge them as being this, that, or the other, but actually they are navigating some really tough territory. And that is a general thing out there today, like, actually, eh?
Mm.
Yeah. So it's just have some more compassion and empathy for the humanity itself, really.
Again,
Mm.
that for me, it brings up that there's no right or wrong. So I think the divisive thing that's happening is that people think they are right and somebody else is wrong. And it's that empathy is because we could both experience the same things, but we could respond differently. And
Yeah.
so for me to have an expectation of you to respond in a certain way is unrealistic because I've
Yes.
got no clue as to the things that are going to be triggered in you. And some people say, oh, I'm quite laid back and easy. So, but there are other things that really get up my nose,
Mm.
which don't impact other people. So it's, yeah, that non-judgment and compassion is just so crucial. So
Oh,
hard though.
it can be. It really can be. I remember sitting in the car outside Pack and Save in the COVID time, and this man's standing at his car, older man, he's standing at his car, obviously, I thought, waiting for his wife and Pack and Save. And he leans over and he looks at my rego on the vehicle, and he taps my window and he goes, "That's out." And I'm like, "And what business is it of yours?" And instantly this rage just sort of came up in me. I just wanted to have a go at him and say, rank, rank, whatever it might have been. But in that moment, I thought, yeah, okay, fair point, because it was. But in that time, we were able to, like, you couldn't go and register it because we weren't allowed into, or there was a lapse, that there was an agreement that there was a lapse. So anyway, because we were in lockdown, and I just wound the window down and I said, "We're in lockdown, remember, and we're able to do this right now." And he go, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." Instantly. But if I'd gone out there and go, "What the hell do you think you're doing? Why is that your business?" Rah, 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 we would have had an explosive two
Yeah.
hours probably, and it's just not necessary. But today, I don't know, there is so much being triggered in everyone, everywhere. It's just, yeah, be very present is what I really say to everyone, is just be really present, but particularly driving, you know
Mm.
anywhere really. 'Cause you don't know what's going to come at you. You have no idea. But it's an exciting, very much an exciting time. And this is a really big opportunity for us right now to really create the
Mm.
worlds that we did, like you with your house, your little tiny home. You created it from a passion and a love within yourself, and like you say, love everything in it. That's a very different space to live in from probably living in a place that you didn't love. You weren't really all that happy with, and you had a lot of stuff around you that was just obligated because, to be in your cupboard because it was mum and dad's and they're past now, or whatever it might be. We just hold on to, don't we? And
And
I've,
I think it goes back to what you were saying right at the beginning, that we can choose each and every moment. So whatever your situation, and trust me, I've been there and done it and lived in some really skanky places, but it's the energy that you bring to that place.
totally.
So putting a picture up or removing something, that really just paying attention to what's around, create the environment, go and pick some flowers, a bunch of daisies by the roadside if it matters, something that's going to light you up and make a difference to you.
Yeah.
And create that environment, because it really does impact you. If you go into a dark, danky, skanky place every day without an awareness, then it's not surprising that we find ourselves in that space as well. And then
Yeah.
the space, that environment's going to lift us up. And then creating the mind, that's another biggie. The mind doesn't know if it's reality or imagination. Creating the mind, the environment that really lifts you up, pulling in all those senses, and that can transport you anywhere and actually lift you up for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely that. Definitely. Pardon me. So, Philippa, what have you got coming up? Is there anything you'd like to shout out about and let us know and all of that? And how can people get in touch with you if they'd like to?
Well, my website's philippaross.com, so that's nice and easy, and you can find everything on there, including links to my podcast, because I have a podcast, Waste Not Want Not, which, going back to our earlier point, is during COVID, I thought there was so much shit and doom and gloom going on. I know a lot of people who are doing extraordinary things, and I wanted to share that and spread some hope. And I didn't know how the hell to do that, but I did it anyway. And so for me, that was another journey. And the last one I published was with an ex. She was a homeless, drug induced hooker in New York, basically. And she, up until the age of 35, and she had a near death experience, and she's turned her life around. I mean, if there's anyone who's transformed her life, it's extreme, but, and then I've spoken to another gentleman about feelings of abandonment, but really it's sowing all those seeds of hope. And then there's conservation, there's all sorts of things, but there's a little something that people can connect to and think, oh, if they could do it, maybe I could try that. So that's the purpose. And I'm available for one-on-ones. I really love one-on-ones. I know, like you were saying about the business, the marketing, I love the organic thing. And the real connection to people, to see the reward for me as a mentor is to see people blossom. And so, whether you just need a top up, and I also offer like a 4-week thing, and it can be ongoing, but ultimately my aim is to give you the tools to be able to manage your world. So don't keep relying on me, because that's what happens in counseling. When people go to solve a problem, I'm not there to solve a problem. I'm not promising to change things overnight. There's no shortcuts. You've got to do the work.
Yeah.
And it's a 4-week thing is really good, and it's called Harmonize Your Soul. And I'll send you the link so that you can put it with the notes if you like.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
anything and everything. And I'm happy to go to people's houses and do workshops on overnight or during the day or whatever it happens to be. And be dexterous.
Gorgeous. That's so gorgeous. And it is, I love just the free flow too. And people find me. I don't advertise as Rita very much at all. It's on my website, but I don't put it out there. And I'm constantly in that place of sitting with beautiful people. I love it too, the one-on-one.
Yeah.
And seeing, as they walk in, you can feel where they might be. You don't know, you're not reading, you're just sitting with them. But when they walk out, they're definitely inspired, and there's a difference in their energy, and they're ready to go out there again and just check out what life might look like now. Yeah, it's very, very cool. I love it. So
One of the things that I will say, particularly at this time, don't wait till New Year to create changes. You can do it in every moment of every day.
Good
So
point.
if
Absolutely.
you've got, again, when we were talking earlier about looking to the future as to what you want, don't wait till the new year to do something. Tap into it now and create that momentum to help yourself, I think. And
Yeah.
people are starting to prioritize themselves over stuff because they need that strength to manage the storm that we're going through. But think of it, we're in the eye of the storm and chaos has to happen. And like all weather, it will pass. And this is juicy. There's really good stuff coming. We just have to have those strong roots to weather the storm.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do. Yeah, and as I've said many times, I love it. I love the excitement that we're in, and what could be, that just what could be, and bringing imagination back in, because it got lost way lost down the track. Nobody being, again, nobody was thinking for themselves either, so there wasn't any imagination. It's sort of gone out the door. But anyway, it's coming back. Lots of people are getting on board, and it's shifting. We're shifting the world. Like, actually, you can see it happening, can feel it. We're all feeling like something huge is coming, whatever that is, it's us. It is us.
And
And
don't live in fear of it. Adopt the
no,
spirit of awe and magic that children do. And you couldn't get a more adult version of a child in like myself, because just ask any of my friends or people who know me. I'm very child. Don't take life so seriously. It's meant to be fun to experience it. Yeah. And
absolutely.
watch the magic in children's eyes. Yes. That imagination is just phenomenal. We lost touch with ourselves, and that's what we need to get back to.
Oh, for goodness sake, yes. And I think, if we look at our ancestors, our two great grandfathers, it's like we've come from pioneer stock.
Mm-hmm.
We're from pioneering stock, and my girls have always said to me, Mum, if this world hits, the shit happens, the shit hits the fan, I'm coming to you because you're that woman that will just be able to get us through. Because I am that. I'm a solutioner. I love camping. I'm all good with living in the bush if I have to. I can do mess. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in us to survive, and our body is here to help us do that. And when we pay attention to the body, it'll give us all the instruction we need to live a very well and happy life. And so it's just that. But thank you so much for coming in, Philippa. It's been lovely, and I've been meaning to get hold of you for quite a while actually. And the tiny homes thing and the voting and going in with that was like, yes, now I've got her here, let's get on. So thank you, and thank you for all you do, for all you have done over this time. The intimate conversations was really about started for me, sitting people in seats in a hall, gathering together for intimate conversation. Originally, it wasn't an online thing, podcast. So it's been something that was really for me, I felt very passionate about, and highlighting the pioneers, like those like myself have been doing this forever, have bashed our head against brick wall for a very long time, it felt like. And now there's this opening and this flow that we're all in, and it's just watching everyone blossom now and really turn on what they're here to do and be. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I've been, like that, watching you over the years and all that you've done and how much you've, bought what you've brought into this world. And it's just beautiful. So thank you so much for being you.
Do you remember back in 2016, I did a wellbeing show in Whangarei with Jeanette McDonald as my MC. And it's nearly 20 years ago. And I
Wow.
just thought, I'm talking of pioneers. I've been ahead of myself. I'm not talking big-headed here, but I've
No, I get
been
you.
ahead
Yeah.
insofar as expressing it and people being able to integrate it. And so
Yeah.
these conversations that connect people, and it's like, oh, a bit of that and a bit of that, and let go of that. That's what's really important. And I really think, like the threads of a tapestry, we're uniting everything, coming together now, which is and it's people like
Absolutely.
yourself that's really helping it. And thank you for the privilege of being one of your guests. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, love it. Thank you so much for saying yes. And what a glorious day. We tried this a few days ago and it was pouring with rain on both ends, and it was like the internet was not good. And I just thought, no, let's do it on a sunny day. And here we are. We've got a
Yeah,
gorgeous day out there. So enjoy, and much, much love to you and your fam, and all the very best for here on.
thank you. Bless you, Mandy.
Thank you. And thank you to all the viewers. Much love to you all as well.